Yo, welcome to the Players Ball Podcast, where we cover all sports far and wide. I'm your host, Roddy. Go ahead and follow us at the Players Ball 1 on Twitter, at the Players Ball Podcast on Instagram, and then follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Roddy404 on both platforms. Now, I have to dust off my accent and get ready, because it's time for the Prem to return. It's time for football to return, mate. All right. And I'm excited. I'm very hyped. It's gonna be good. All right. I know y'all said that was a 10 out of 10 accent. I know. Don't worry. Y'all can thank me in the comments. But anyway, the Prem is back. La Liga is back. Pretty much all European football is gonna be back this upcoming Friday, tomorrow, and throughout the rest of the weekend. So I'm excited. We're definitely going to focus today on the Premier League, though, since it is the top league in Europe. And the opening fixture is Burnley and Man City. Obviously, Burnley coming back up from the second division of English football to face the champions. And Pep has one of his pupils at the helm of Burnley who honestly completely kind of turned the tide on what Burnley was under Sean Dyche. I mean, they're very much a more exciting team now under company. So I'm excited to see, that kind of mental battle between another one of Pep and his disciples. So we'll see what happens in that fixture. I probably have City winning that, even though it's going to be Burnley at home. It's going to be a big atmosphere, obviously a night fixture for the first match. So it's going to be huge. But I wanted to first address the new fans that are going to be watching the Premier League this year. And hopefully you are one of those. So I want to give you the top 3 rules to being a Premier League fan. Now, they're very important. You follow these rules in order to get the full authentic experience. Okay. You definitely have to know these things and practice these things, more importantly, in order to be a proper fan. So, number 1, it is no glory hunting, okay? You pick a team in a league, you stick to that team, all right? Don't, if you pick Liverpool, feel bad and wish you would have picked United or City because they're top 4, mid-season or something like that, all right? You got to stay with the team that you picked at the beginning of the season, and you have to stay with that team for the rest of your life. So pick wisely, okay? Now, when you're picking a team, prioritize competence is rule number 2, okay? You got to read into some of what of these clubs are doing, the ownership at some of these clubs, the players that they have, the transfers. We'll go over what the top 6 has done in a minute, but it's really something that if you don't pick a competent club, aka Tottenham, which I don't know why people have been becoming Tottenham fans in America, if they've known the history of the Tottenham, as my boy Chiellini would say, they wouldn't want to pick Tottenham. Okay. So I would advise you to do your research, do your homework before you pick a club. And again, prioritize competence, please. And the third rule is going to be show no mercy. Okay. You can be objective in certain situations. When a player is great, you can say they're great, but it has to be backhanded. Okay. It has to come with the diss on the other side. All right. That's just the rules to engagement. You have to be a shameless fan who only cares about your team and your team's well-being. Okay. You don't want to see any other team be successful in the league. And that's just how it is. It's like the NFL. You really want to stick to your team because if you are claimed, like rule number 1, a glory hunter, your legitimacy in all soccer arguments will be canceled out. So you don't want that. All right. So those are your 3 rules in order to be a Prem fan. Please remember those. All right. They're very important. Now I want to go to analyzing, like I said, the top 6 and kind of what they've done in the transfer window. Obviously, it's been a relatively active window, a lot of transfers within the Premier League, a lot of transfers outside. We got some guys going to Saudi Arabia. As some of y'all know, that's really gaining traction over there. So we'll go to City first. City added Guardiola and Mateo Kovacic, 2 Croatians that are probably, the top of their class in their positions. I think Guardiola I mean, is the best defender in the world. Even though Messi made him look like a child, there's a reason why he had a $90 million price tag. So he is in for City. Kovacic is going to be kind of that replacement for Gundogan, who went to Barcelona in order to kind of, keep the midfield level, kind of, play Pep system well. I think he's a very good passer. So I think he should technically be at the level of City. And I think it's a really good pickup for him. I'm really honestly sad that he left Chelsea. But they did have some guys leave. Riyad Mahrez, uh, I mean, he went to Saudi Arabia. I don't know why. I think he probably could have went to maybe Spain, but a $35 million price tag, that was the most expensive transfer that City had going on the way out this year. So can't really blame him for taking that bag. Gundogan left on a free transfer, obviously, to Barcelona, like I said. And those are pretty much mainly the main guys that were getting burned for them last year. So really only two guys that left, two important guys that came in, another defender and another midfielder. City just keep reloading, man. Like I don't know what else to say about them. They just gonna keep reloading. I don't know. Now to go with Arsenal, who finished in second place, obviously last year. They held the lead for most of the season, but unfortunately, they were not able to, finish the job, unfortunately. They paid 116.6 million pounds for one Declan Rice to come over from West Ham, a defensive midfielder that they desperately needed. I think the guy is going to fit in like a glove. He's looked good in preseason, but I think there was a reason why Arsenal went after him so heavily. He is one hell of a player, and he pretty much kept West Ham afloat as a defensive midfielder last year. So any guy who has that type of capability, I really feel like is worth maybe a cheaper price tag, but a big price tag nonetheless. Kai Havertz coming over from Chelsea for 75 million, which was really a surprise to me just because I didn't think he was worth that much money. I still don't think he's worth that much money, but it is what it is. They paid for a forward. He's uh, not really a nine. He's more of a center attack mid. He'll fit into the system pretty well. I think Saka and Gabriel Jesus will be able to work with him and be a little bit more aggressive on the attacking side. Not to say that they weren't last year, but I think they could make a little bit of an improvement, which, ultimately, I think this is what that is. So Kai Havertz was really huge for them. Nicola Pepe is coming back from loan from Nice. And some of the big name exits, which, not really big name exits. Maitland-Niles, he didn't really play a lot, but he went to Lyon. Granit Xhaka, one of the, I guess, pillars of the team for the last couple of years. Not couple, I would say the last 4 or 5 years. He went to Germany and Bayer Leverkusen. So Arsenal, in my opinion, had a pretty solid window. Obviously, like I said, getting that splashy defensive midfielder in Declan Rice is going to help them in the long run. Not really sure what that means for the league in terms of winning it, because again, City is just such a strong side. They're so just relentless and they're built to last an entire season. So I think Arsenal, well, I'll get to my predictions on where I feel like they'll finish later. But next we'll go to Chelsea, my club. All right. And to be honest with you, last year was a disappointment, okay? But I think it was a disappointment to the level of I think we can grow. And I think it's a good thing that we have a lot of talent on this squad and we only have to play one game per week, which is going to be huge. Now, our transfer window, obviously, during the season was the biggest part, I guess, or biggest story of our season, other than the ownership change. We did add Enzo Fernandez. Mudryk, obviously, was almost going to Arsenal, came back to Chelsea. So this latest transfer window, we had some good additions. Christopher Nkunku is the one that obviously was the most expensive for 60 million pounds, but he's injured with a knee injury. Not really sure what the timetable for his return is. He's been dealing with injury in his career, so hopefully we didn't buy a lemon. I hate to refer to players as that, but I mean, it is what it is. Nicholas Jackson from Villarreal is a forward that I really, really love from the Congo. That came over, like I said, from Villarreal, had a great season last year. Villarreal has just had a couple of guys over the last 2 or 3 seasons that have went to different clubs and been able to show their value. And I think Nicholas Jackson is definitely going to be one of those. Now, in terms of the players that went out, Kai Havertz, like I said, went to Arsenal. Mason Mount, he's going to be in Manchester United. They paid $64 million for him. Again, not really sure why that happened. But Mateo Kovacic, he, like I said, went to Man City. Koulibaly, who came from Brighton, then is now in Al Hilal after one season. Not really the smartest signing, but it is what it is. And Captain America is unfortunately now in AC Milan. So Chelsea overall, like I said, they're only playing one game a week. They should have everything in front of them in order to be successful. And yeah, I'll let you know where I feel like I have them finishing later on in the show. Now, Man U, they're Eh, I think they've just been for the last 2 or 3 seasons. They, like I said, had Mason Mount come on to the team. They added Andre Onana from Inter Milan, who just played in the Champions League final. Johnny Evans from Leicester is a little bit of a move, but they got him on a free transfer. So, maybe it'll work out for them. Not a lot of huge losses. Alex Telles is going to Al Nasser in Saudi Arabia. Anthony Alanga, who, got some time, but kind of was not ready, young player. He's going to Nottingham Forest. So those are really the main guys who have left the team. And I don't really feel like Man U is in a position to challenge for the title. I think they're barely in the race to challenge for top four. We'll see what Liverpool can do, but I just haven't been impressed with Man United and what they've added to the squad. It's been a little stale at times, but maybe Ten Hag can get the youth. Maybe Ten Hag can get these higher level players like Rashford and Casemiro to continue to produce at a high level, and hopefully they'll finish top four. But I think that's the most realistic, idea for them is to finish top four, not to try to win the league. I don't think they have the talent for that at all. Now for Liverpool, they added McAllister from Brighton. I think that is a good move for them. The only issue is they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players from the first squad that are leaving on free transfers, which is not good. I mean, a lot of these guys, yes, they're past their prime, like Roberto Firmino. I think Fabinho is, as well as Jordan Henderson. But at the end of the day, like you have only added 2 signings, and I mean, you've had depth issues in the past. Klopp is saying that he wants another midfielder, he wants another defender. And I guess FSG is not really complying to that. Don't really know what it is with the ownership up there. But that's why rule number 2 is prioritize competence, okay? Because clubs like this who have the history, have the pedigree, and like Man United that I just mentioned as well, have everything that you could want in terms of history. If they have incompetence at the highest level, that doesn't really matter. They're not going to be able to compete, and they're not going to be able to try to be better than Manchester City. So, nothing Liverpool has done makes me feel like they can finish top four, even though I do, again, believe in what Mohamed Salah can do. Um, I just, I don't know. I'm not feeling the most confident in Liverpool's chances of making top four this year. Now we'll round out the top or big six, as they would say, with Tottenham, who was pretty active in the transfer market. They got James Madison from relegated Leicester, which was pretty big. Pedro Porro, who is from Sporting Lisbon. I think it's a good pickup. Don't really know what the midfield is going to look like for them. They really should have gotten a defender. Ashley Phillips is okay. I don't love him from Blackburn. Um, but they didn't really have a lot of guys that they lost. Everybody that they lost kind of was the baggage on their team. Tottenham is always going to be either the biggest disappointment or a big surprise. It's either one of the two. Um, I don't think they have the squad currently to make top four. I think they'll be fighting for that Europa League spot with Liverpool the whole season. Hopefully, they're not as disappointing as they've been for the last 2 years, but I think Harry Kane will be a big bright spot, and we'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show. But I think he's going to be a guy that is coming out for vengeance this year. That's what I'll say. But those are the top six. Those are pretty much all of the teams that are going to get the most attention and the most coverage during the season because they are the clubs that have the most history. Now, the teams that I want you guys to watch this year, all right? One is Newcastle. All right. Now, Newcastle, they have Saudi ownership now. They've gotten a lot of money injected into the team. They've been spending. They have great talent. I think Alexander Isak is one of the greatest young strikers in the game today. But they're going to have to bring it all together again for another season. They obviously went out and spent a lot of money on Tonali from AC Milan, which is going to help them a lot as well. Um, I need to see it all again. Like I said, Newcastle is going to be one of the formidable opponents in the Premier League and in the race for top four as long as they can continue to get quality players. So they would definitely be one of the teams I would look to watch, especially since they're going to be playing Champions League football this year for the first time in a long ass time. So shout out to them. Second team that I want y'all to watch is, my team. I'm a little bit biased. I ain't gonna lie. But Chelsea, I feel like I said earlier, is going to have one game per week. The players that were, added in the middle of the season last year are going to have a preseason, a training camp. They're going to have everything that a player needs to have a successful season. And they'll have a way better coach, not a coach that was added in the middle of the season, not a coach that was disgraced and, in my opinion, fired a little bit too early in Tuchel, but it is what it is. I think they're going to have the opportunity to actually just play the game, which is what they need. So Chelsea definitely is a team that I would be looking to put my money on for any of the gamblers. And I think they're going to be an interesting and fun team to watch this year, which was the total opposite of what they were last year. And then my third team to watch is going to be Brentford. Now, Brentford, since coming up from the second division, I think it was 3 years ago now, they've been really, really good and they've been really competitive, finishing pretty much mid-table the last 2 seasons. Thomas Frank is one hell of a coach. And the reason I want you to watch them is because don't be surprised if you see them within that 6 to 8, maybe even 9 range in the table because of the depth and the key pieces that these mid-table clubs lost, like Crystal Palace and West Ham and Brighton. So I think they're going to be right there in the mix. Do they challenge for our Europe spot? Maybe Conference League, but I don't have them confidently making a European spot. But I do think they're a team that's going to ruin a lot of the top four's hopes to get different positioning. And I think they're going to definitely be a player in a relegation battle for sure. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely love Brentford this year. Now, let's go ahead and get to our top four predictions. Top four. I think it's got to be City at 1. Obviously, they're the most talented team. They have the best coach. They're just a machine. I don't know what else to say about Manchester City other than they're a machine. And as long as they don't have injury, they have depth, they have the highest level of talent. They have a guy who in an average season is going to give you 25 goals in his sleep. I just don't see anybody being better over the period of 38 weeks other than Manchester City. So I have them winning again for the fourth time in a row. I have Arsenal coming in second just because the talent level, again, is very high. I think that they're not up to City's level, but they can give them a challenge. And the key for them is just going to be the ability to use their depth and injury, free. So I think they're a reasonable pick for number two. Now, number three, I got Chelsea. And I've said the reasons over and over again, so I don't have to repeat them. But I really, really think that they're gonna be good, man. I just do. That's one of the things that if you were to tell me that a team with this much talent, like, is going to play a less amount of games than everybody else that's going to be competing for the top four spots, I would pick them to be number two, to be honest with you. But Arsenal, I think, does have the more talent, so I'll respect them and put them at two. But Chelsea's definitely got to be number three. And number four, I'll come in with Manchester United. Although I think they're going to be a little bit lackluster, I really do believe in their coach. I do believe that they have talent. Casemiro is an amazing player. Marcus Rashford is an amazing player. Hopefully, they can get Jadon Sancho back into the fold and get him to being that productive player that they hoped. The defense, a little shaky again, but I think they can hold up just enough to get that top four spot. And then on my outside looking in, of course, I have Liverpool for the Europa League spot, and then I have Tottenham for the Conference League. So the top six will still be the top six, I feel like. I think Newcastle, even though they'll be good, I think they'll take a step back this year. And yeah, those are my top four predictions. All right, now let's get into some gambling. I know we cover gambling a little bit on this podcast, but I wanted to get into the top goal scorer. All right, now they have a bet on a company that doesn't pay us, so we won't say their names, but they have Haaland versus the field. So Erling Haaland is minus 140 to be the top goal scorer in the Premier League this year again. And they have the field at plus 110. Now, I want to take the field, okay, but I'm not stupid. Like I said previously, like, Haaland is a guy that's going to score 25 goals in his sleep. So I don't really feel the need to bet against him. All right. He's a reason. There's a reason why he's minus 140. Like, it's just, he's that guy. All right. So I wouldn't take that bet. I would definitely, if you want to take Haaland, it wouldn't make sense because of the juice. But if you want to take a bet, take it on Haaland, because I don't think anybody else wins the top scorer this year, to be honest with you. Chelsea finishing top four, which, if my prediction comes true, will hit at plus 125. I think that's pretty good odds. I think Chelsea being kind of, this high is a little bit generous. I think this definitely will go down later on in the season if they start top two or top three and stay there until maybe, November, December. You might want to get this now before it becomes a minus 110 or minus 120 type of situation. So Chelsea to finish top four, plus 125. That's another official play from us. And then the winners without Man City, like I said, I still think Arsenal is going to win, plus 190. I just think it's going to be their league to lose without Man City. Chelsea has to have competence, but again, they have a new coach. They have a lot of new players. There's no guarantee that they'll be the second best team, except, I don't know. We seen a lot of things in the Premier League, but if we're talking about betting your money on it, I would say Arsenal is the safest bet. So that is the Premier League for 2023 and 24. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching again. Please follow us at the Players Ball 1 on Twitter, at the Players Ball Podcast on Instagram, and then go ahead and follow me, Roddy404, on both platforms. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week with our guy Jude for a preview of the AFC East. We'll get into a little bit of the fixtures that happen this upcoming weekend, and we'll cover some of these other top 5 leagues that are going on. But until then, we'll holla at y'all later, man. Peace.